Alright, so I know Alex has been interested in this because he doesn't know a lot of the backstory to Kangadora. So this is day 27. So, yeah. Alright, so the backstory to... I was able to study up on this. There's a Kangadora website that talks about this. The story about Kangadora is that he was created by an Australian soldier during coming back from World War II. He had done an attack on the Japanese during one of the many battles on New Guinea, where they were trying to keep them out from taking over New Guinea altogether. Because if they didn't do that, Australia would have been essentially cut off from the rest of the thing. So it's very much, and this is why a lot of Kangadora's origins are to do with World War II. Very similar to Captain America, and I'll get into that in a minute. So he did an attack on the Japanese, and I forget what it is in Japanese, but it was translated to him. One of the soldiers was screaming out this thing a bunch of times, and he asked one of their translator what it meant, and it was actually a fellow soldier, so he apparently spoke Japanese, and he quoted it to them. He said they're saying giant kangaroo, and that stuck in his mind. So after the war, he was a kind of an amateur scriptwriter, so he wrote down this whole story about essentially what we got on screen, which is during World War II, a bunch of scientists were experimenting in a secret lab about how to win World War II, but the experiment stopped once they knew where Australia was going to win the war. So there was no need for these experiments. But the scientist ends up continuing on the experiments, and round about 56, he concludes them, and he dies, and then we got this giant kangaroo, and it comes to Sydney, attacks, and then leaves. Goes to the ocean and ends up sleeping there or something. And then we get Platypina, which is a giant platypus, and he comes and attacks, and then the kangaroo comes back, fights the platypus, kills it, goes back in the ocean again. And this comes up a couple of times. Then there's a really weird one, the third movie. What was it? I'm trying to remember, because there's two things. Similar thing. The kangaroo. That's the one where they kind of went. The Platypina was not quite as successful. Kangadora versus Platypina was not quite as successful. That's when they came up with. I forget what it was called. Got Godzilla on the brain as well. I just recently watched that movie. The Kangadora versus Magnanina. They didn't spend a lot of time on the names. Sorry, guys. Which is a giant magpie. It has the advantage of flight. They thought this would be really cool, similar to what happened in Darwin. That's why it's kind of really interesting. The Platypina one, there was a bunch of swimming going on it. That was very similar to the submarine attacks on Sydney Harbour. That's why a lot of that takes place in and around Sydney. This one, I don't know why they set it also in Sydney. It's really weird, because the Bird's doing a lot of dive bombing sort of thing. It's really and it's really cheesily done. Yeah, this was late 60s, because it took like 4 years for every movie. So this was quite a long break. This was 66. This one came out. The last one was in 60, and apparently there was some really weird stuff going on, and they were fearing competition from Godzilla, because apparently. But yeah, that's what happens there, and eventually they capture both creatures. One gets launched, and they launch them both into space, and that's supposed to set up, because there's a warning thing at the end. It says Kangidora. Next one is Kangidora versus the Martians, and it's really weird, is because Kangidora gets sent to the Martian planet to take on the Martians. So this is the fourth movie, and they have Kangidora fighting alien spaceships throughout the thing. Martians are just these guys with their faces painted green, really weird green, similar to the style that they used in Santa Claus vs. the Martians. It's really weird. Don't know why they went that route with it. It's a very weird thing. Like, I think Martians were in at the time, and this was 69. I think this was released. So this was a little less of a break. I think they were thinking of making this right after it. So it's really weird. It was like made, and then they did the kind of soft reboot. But I think the problem was it wasn't long enough after this. This was the last one was made in 74. Yeah, this is the last one that was made. It's Kangidora returns, and it's not really explained. The rocket sort of crashes down in the outback, and out pops Kangidora. That's why it was also called Kangidora's Revenge. Guess where? I think that's where they got the Jaws title from. Comes back, tries to trash the town, and the soldiers and all that end up stopping him. And he sort of falls and collapses in the sea and fade out, and that was the end. It was very, very like that was it. They didn't want to make any more after that, and it's kind of like they wanted to end it, and I think the original guy had passed on, and he had to put in the contract that there would be at least 5 movies after the success of the first one, because the first one did quite well. And yeah, they wanted to do that as kind of a tribute to him, because and it was weirdly enough, that was really the that was the thing. They fulfilled the contract for it, and it was announced that this would be like the tribute to the original guy. His name is Steve Williams. He served in World War II and the tail end of World War One. He was one of the last people sent over, apparently, the last group sent over, and served again in World War II, and got sent over again. I don't know if he served in Korea or anything like that, but I think he more than adequately filled his contract. So yeah, that's essentially the history of Kangadora. I don't know why Alex was calling it Kangadoria. It's Kangadora. Yeah, so that's that, guys. This was quite a good one. I was not expecting it to go that well, but apparently a new studio owns the rights to Kangadora. And there's talk about bringing it back and having it like, last I heard, and this was fairly recently, was that it's going to include the first one. It's kind of like similar to some of the Godzilla movies have done, apparently, is they have sort of do this keep the first one in continuity, forget the rest. Yeah, that's apparently what they're thinking of doing, and that's apparently where they got the idea. So very interesting ones. So see you guys. Be back